Welcome to Makes Complete Sense, the podcast where we get to know our partners a little bit better. I hope you enjoy the episode. Today we're joined with Taran from Epson. So could you tell us a bit about sort of your role, Taran, and how long you've worked for Epson?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the sustainability manager at Epson for UK and Ireland. So there's a version of me, essentially, in all our European countries. And my role has been, I've been in my role for probably around 2.5 years now. And it's really like a very 50-50 role. So there's the two different sides of sustainability, as it were. One side is the talking to customers, working with our sales guys to make sure that they've got the right messaging they're putting out there. But then the other side of it is the reporting side of it. All very database and heavy. There's a lot of compliance that goes on with that side of things, which is really emerging in the world now as well. But yeah, that's pretty much me and my role. And the role itself has been a new thing for me because it's different from sustainability that I've done at previous roles as well. So way back when I got out of uni, I worked in environmental compliance. That had an essence of sustainability to it, but probably more policy based. And then I worked in an oil and gas company. And you can imagine that when you're working in an oil and gas company and in sustainability, it's quite challenging at the same time. So there was a lot of hard conversations to have, but I had a really supportive manager while I was there. And then I'm in my role at Epson now. And yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world, to be honest. It's a little bit of what I like, something different every single day.
Well, that's what you want, no 2 days the
Exactly. Challenging, definitely challenging, but also I think super fun to be able to have that variety as well.
So what got you into sort of the sustainability side of things with work?
I think that for me, it was definitely when I was in school. I loved geography. And I know I didn't want to go down the physical route of things, but I also didn't want to go down just the human route of things either. And sustainability is really good in that it sort of combines both of those as well. And for me, I think it's been more of a pet project for my entire life, essentially, to always be trying to do better. And maybe I can't do things like change the world, just by myself or anything like that. I don't have that power, unfortunately. But I think that by working through sustainability,
helps, though, doesn't it?
That's what I'm thinking as well, exactly. So working with corporations and trying to help them on their sustainability agenda feels like a great way to start itself anyway. And even if I'm like moving along and helping a company move along step by step, I still feel like it's having some contribution.
Definitely. So, I mean, a lot of businesses that we speak to, especially some of our customers, they do get quite confused with the difference between sort of sustainability, CSR and ESG. Could you sort of just delve into the difference for them? Yeah,
sure. So sustainability is a massive umbrella, first of all. So CSR and ESG definitely sit under that sustainability umbrella, but they're doing two sort of different things. So CSR is probably looking at more so the way you speak about sustainability. So I'm sat with you here today, and I'm not going to put up a spreadsheet and say, this is all our data. That would be the ESG side of things. But the conversation that we're having today is probably more the CSR side of things. So we're talking about social responsibility. We're talking about environmental responsibility, but more on a qualitative sort of realm, if that makes sense. Whereas if we're looking at ESG, it's all very data-based. So a lot of policy is asking for us to look at how much carbon you're emitting, for example, how much water you're using, that kind of stuff. So that's very ESG-based. It's looking at the data side of things. And if you sort of think of it like, CSR is saying that you're healthy, but ESG is having the medical reports to prove that you're healthy. Exactly.
So how do you define each one, sort of, if somebody's new's coming into this, talking to sort of you from Epson, how would you define that really, really simply for them?
I would say that CSR and ESG are things that are completely necessary when you work in a sustainability role or you have sustainability within your company. I think CSR is what you tell your customers and ESG is what you prove to your investors.
So the UN SDGs as well, that's another sort of big thing for companies as well. How do they sort of link to real business action?
So the UN SDGs, just for any listeners who don't know what the UN SDGs are, the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, they're essentially 17 goals. And the UN came in and said, if we wanted to reach a sustainable society that was prosperous, that was peaceful, that was not harmful to the environment, we'd have to work on these 17 areas, for example. So the aim is to really work on them and the target is 2030. But it doesn't mean that when we get to 2030, if we don't achieve the SDGs, we should just chuck them in the bin. What they're supposed to provide is a framework and a route for companies and organizations to be doing the right thing. So what companies can use the SDGs for is sort of like a framework in the way that they want to pose their business. Sometimes you've got the whole world of sustainability that you can work on. There's so many different areas of it. Sometimes it's good to have the SDGs there to give you a little bit of focus in a particular area. So for us, we have a certification in the SDGs, go through a very rigorous auditing process every single year. with Bureau Veritas. And what they do is they come in and they have a look how we harness the SDGs within our own operations.
Right.
So a lot of that is going through departments, even the sales departments were involved as well, and saying what activities have you done and how do they align with each of the SDGs.
Right.
But it's very hard for you to have a impact on all 17. So what we do is it's essentially like a materiality assessment. So we have all 17 SDGs plotted on a graph. We have a look which ones are material to us, and we have a look which ones we can have the biggest impact on.
So you sort of prioritise.
Exactly. And that we have like a quadrant. In our sustainability report, we have a nice graph on there.
Yeah.
And we have a quadrant in the corner which shows the ones that are most important to us. So that's SDG 4, which is quality education, SDG 8, which is decent work and economic growth, SDG 12, responsible consumption production, and then SDG 13, which is climate action. Now, that is where we are focusing our efforts because, again, we can't have an impact on all 17. So what companies can do is a very similar sort of process to that, a very similar activity, and they can figure out which of the areas that they need to focus on as a priority first of all. And then, I mean, they can work on all the other SDGs if they want to, but that really helps focus in on projects that you perhaps want to spend money on and perhaps want to allocate resource to.
So does that all tie in again with sort of like the journey to net zero and all of that?
Yeah, definitely. So the UN SDGs they're all working to a very similar thing.
Yeah.
That SDG that I mentioned, SDG 13, which is climate action, that one is very focused on the 2050 side of things. So as the UK government has put a target in place to be net zero by 2050, which means that organisations are soon going to have to be also working towards this as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of corporate companies have a 2050 vision in place already. So we have one. We are our aim is to become carbon negative and underground resource free by 2050.
Yeah.
But a lot of organizations that are perhaps smaller maybe don't have a strategy in place to get to that point. So the government will start asking companies to deliver ESG, so deliver data to them so that they can begin to figure out what transitions need to be made to get the smaller companies and the larger companies to that 2050 point and where government intervention is probably needed.
Okay, so with Epson, another sort of huge thing that you guys do offer is the heat-free printers. So how can they sort of save people with their energy and how does this compare to obviously with the sustainability?
Yeah, sure. So when I got into the world of printers, when I first started this role, I had no idea what the difference was between laser printing and heat-free printing, inkjet printing rather. And I remember booking in to one of my many meetings that I had when I first started with our product managers. And he was taking me through and he was like, so this is the difference, because fundamentally that was the first thing I learned, what the difference was. And really the difference became so apparent to me that I was like, okay, this is a story that needs to be told, that needs to be put out there almost so that customers understand. Because a lot of customers, if you're just a facilities manager, for example, and you just need to change your printer over, you're not looking fully into the depths of it as well. Like when you're buying a phone, for example, you're like, what phone does what I want it to do, and that's about it. Yeah. But if you go into the research of it and you have a look what it's actually doing, then you're able to figure out what the difference is between two and which one could perhaps be a much more environmentally friendly option for you. Yeah. So heat-free printing, inkjet printing, essentially takes the heat element out of laser printing itself. So it's a slightly different kind of process. And the way that Epson really started is through crystals. So we used to be a watch manufacturer, or rather we are still a watch manufacturer with Seiko Epson. And through those crystals, if you put electricity through them, you can control the time at which a hand ticks, for example. Right. A printer, we put crystals inside a printer and put electricity through those crystals as well. And as they oscillate, they essentially eject ink onto a page itself. Right. So traditional laser printing is looking at a drum, like a heated drum, for example, and that is then heating toner onto a page. You can imagine how much energy needs to go in to heating that drum in the first place, because there is a heat element there. And also think about the degradation of that as well. As soon as heat is involved in a process, things will degrade much faster as well. Yeah. Whereas an inkjet printer, there isn't that heating element. The only thing that you probably need to change over is just making sure that your print head is clean, for example, which can be an easy fix. So when it comes to inkjet printing, because there are fewer parts, it means that you don't really have to have that downtime of making sure that your printer is maintained as quickly and as frequently as a laser printer is. So especially when it comes to something like heat-free inkjet printing as well, there is a saving of productivity within that, a saving on waste for you as well, and then also a saving on energy. And the way that we can demonstrate that to our customers is through something called optimization tool. So for us, we've created this report almost. Yeah. And what it is it goes through and you can put in a customer's requirements. So how many printers they have on site at the moment with their current contracts. You can have a look how much money they spend on their energy, for example. Really important during cost of living crisis. It was a really important thing for people to know. And still is, to be honest. Also putting in things like how often you use your printer, how big a work job is for you as well.
Yeah.
And then out of that, it spits out essentially a report to show you what your current consumption is in all of those areas, and then what your consumption could be if you were to buy an Epson printer and switch over to an Epson fleet. And the reason why that's so important is because it almost creates a business case for you. So a lot of the time, people don't have time to go through the process of creating a business case because they just need to change over their printers, for example. So this optimization tool can be used as a business case in some senses. It takes out all the good figures for you. You can stick them in a presentation.
Present that then, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it. So then it's much more easier, and it speaks a lot of different languages as well. So whether you're speaking to your sustainability manager or your facilities manager or your IT manager, there's something in there for everyone.
Right.
So it is a good report to have and a good tool to have. And just on the entire space in the moment in sustainability when it comes to greenwashing, having something like that report, which we have verified by a third party as well, is just then further proof that you can give it to someone as part of a business case itself.
Amazing. So can anybody sort of access that, or is it solely sort of Epson's customers?
So you need to speak to one of our partners. So we work with our partners, like Complete, for example, and you'll have access to our optimization tool report. And someone can talk you through and help you understand what printers will work with your space, for example, and also put your numbers into a report itself so you have something deliverable at the end of it too.
Yeah. So if we run on to sort of like a quick myth busting segment, so sustainable printing is always more expensive.
Okay, yeah. Always a tricky one, that one is. Now, in sustainability, there is this concept of payback time. So often if you're buying something sustainable or a product that has that sustainability benefit to it, you have a payback time. So you're investing maybe more money at the start, but over time what happens is that produces savings for you. It's very similar to solar panels, for example. During cost of living, the rate at which solar panels were being installed increased by quite a lot. I think it was almost double the amount of solar panels being installed. People found that if they were investing money on the solar panels at the start, it meant that their bills were going to be lower by the end of it as well. Now, it's obviously, it feels like a large sum that you're spending at the start, but as time goes on, what you are seeing are the long-term savings of that, especially if you're going to have something that's going to be installed for quite a while as well. And that's how we see printers, for example, sustainable print especially. Maybe you're investing a bit of money, more money at the start. And also just to say, we are competitive on the market. I don't think we'd survive as a business if we weren't.
Got to be, haven't you?
Exactly. So the idea is that, yes, sure, you're spending a little bit more money at that start off, but an Epson printer without that heating element won't degrade as fast. You'll have that printer for longer. And then in terms of energy, you'll be saving a lot of money in that as well. And then not having an optimization tool alongside that will show you how much money you could be saving over that time too.
And I'm assuming sort of the lifespan of these printers are quite...
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So for that reason as well, we're trying to explore this idea of remanufacturing, refurbishing as well. So we can keep those printers in cycle for even longer now as well. But it's all a working game itself. Circularity is a very broad subject, and at times it can seem like it's quite impossible as well. But the aim really is to create a circular economy to make sure that we're reusing resources as much as possible, and trying to fit that into our business model as well is one of our main aims.
Amazing. So the next one, small businesses can't make a real impact.
I completely disagree with that statement, more so because I think that anybody can have an impact. I think impact is relative. So whether you're a large company and you have a lot of money at your fingertips and you can make massive changes, what seem like massive changes, when you're a small company, the impact you're making is relative to how big your company is as well. I think it's really important to build sustainability into your business model. Yeah. There's a company called I can't remember what they're called. I think they're called BioBean. They're called BioBean. Right. And essentially they take coffee granules and they make them into logs that you can use to heat your house, for example. So you can stick inside the fire. And that's an idea. That's an example of circularity in itself. So it's taking these coffee grounds which would have gone in landfill or gone food waste and reusing them for another purpose. And that's an example of really building sustainability into your business model and making it part of your sales pitch, of your go-to-market strategy as well. Yeah. So I think that's probably actually what small businesses can do, is making sustainability part of their go-to-market strategy.
Definitely. I mean, we have touched on it, but as a myth buster, so CSR and ESG are basically the same thing.
Well, okay, they're under the same umbrella, but they are not necessarily the same thing. Yes, as I mentioned, CSR, the best way to think about it, CSR is saying you're healthy, ESG is showing you the medical reports to prove that you're healthy. So CSR is saying that you're sustainable, and then ESG is proving that through data and reports.
So what's one thing that businesses could do tomorrow to be more sustainable?
I think what businesses could do is have advocates within the company themselves. So if you're a sustainability lead or you're someone interested in sustainability, so for smaller businesses especially, what you can do is recruit people within other teams to almost act as your champions. Now, people talk about having a sustainability committee. This is obviously a very similar thing. But by having a member of staff in each of the departments, what it allows you to do is have that champion to really advocate for your side of things.
Yeah.
It also gives you insight as well, because a lot of the time, if you're a sustainability manager, you know a little bit about a lot of things, basically. Yeah. And it means that the way a department runs, for example, you won't have full visibility of it. So having someone within that department who can tell you, if you put a project forward to say, listen, Taran, this is not going to work because of X, Y, Z reason, gives you an opportunity to work with them to try and go around that issue and try and figure out what solutions could be as well. So yeah, I think what an important thing could be is to create a team of individuals within your company who have that autonomy when it comes to sustainability within their own department, but then also can have input into any projects that you want to implement as well. So
what would be sort of a common mistake that companies make when they try and go green sort of too quickly without thinking all of that side through?
Yeah, I think that a lot of it is that CSR side of things. So it's very easy if you've got something in the pipeline, for example, that you maybe haven't got the correct data for yet. It's very easy and it makes sense. You want to speak about the good things that you're doing. But the greenwashing is becoming a very big no-no at the moment. It's not to say that you shouldn't be talking about the sustainable things you're doing, but just making sure that when you are speaking about them, you have the correct evidence behind them in the first place. The fear is obviously, and the whole entire point of greenwashing is to not mislead the customer or mislead the client, for example. So just making sure that when you are saying things, when you're saying you've got certain parts of your marketing strategy that you're putting out there, that you do have the correct things backing that up. Because yes, it's always better to have that just in case somebody ever questions you as well.
So how can Epson and Complete work together to support businesses on this journey?
Yeah, so for us, sustainability has been a ribbon that's run through our entire company for a very long time. The reason we work so well with Complete is because you also share a very similar vision to us as well. And really the vision is making sure that we are providing sustainable solutions to our customers and making it as easy as possible for them as well. So having Epson who create the technology and having Complete who deal with the rollout, for example, and deal with the services of those things, of those printers as well, is a really important partnership to have, because with the customers, it means they don't have to think about it. And that's really what a contract should be like. It should say that, right, I've given autonomy to these companies, for example, and it should be a simple fix for them. And that should be it. So it's good to have that partnership between the two, because the customers don't have to worry about tomorrow if my printer breaks down, for example, what can I do about it? You can call Complete up. They'll be on the other side of the phone. They can send someone out to come and see you. So yeah, that's probably the most important thing and the reason why we probably worked so well together as well.
Definitely. So a sustainability habit that you can't live without? I
would probably say a weird one actually is batch making food. So in my house, the food issue was always a massive issue. There'd be things inside the fridge all the time which go out of date, because I'm that kind of person where if I see a deal on Tesco, I'll got to get it. Yeah, exactly. I'm like a 2 for 1. I was like, I got to get it. But
bargain
for me,
section.
Exactly. Yeah. The reduced to clear, the worst one. So for me, I think it was making sure that I'm batch cooking at the start of every single week. So I know what I'm having in the day. And then when it comes to shopping and having that food waste, that's completely reduced, it's cut out itself, because I'm only shopping for what I need in the first place. And it was a small, simple change. I mean, it's much better for me, especially when it gets to Christmas. I'm out of that completely, because I'm like, I need all the cheese you can get. But when it comes out of those periods itself, I think having that food prep in place just means that I've completely cut out the amount of food waste that I have in my house. And the food caddy is much lighter for it as well.
So if every office in the UK changed one thing tomorrow, what should that be?
Probably a good place to start is to, when you have new starters, is to, I'm not going to use the word, maybe I mean the word indoctrinate, but also give them the information about how sustainability works within the company. I think a really good thing to do is make sure that you're building the environment and sustainability throughout the culture at your office, because it makes things much easier for like recycling, for example, even those little things. So people are like questioning, where should I put this? If they're questioning someone, what's the right bin for me to put this in, it creates that culture.
Yeah.
So I think having, when you've got your new starter starting for the first time, having a couple of slides that you present to them in their,
Keeping them aware
in their
of it,
induction.
isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. To let them know that's important to you in your business.
Yeah.
So that they can see, and maybe that will inspire them when they're working with their own departments to have those ideas about how can I make my department a bit more sustainable as well.
Building the culture.
Exactly. But from the ground up as well. Yeah.
So what's your favourite UN SDG?
So I think mine is probably Zero Hunger.
Yeah.
I think we work with a charity called Human Milk Foundation, and their purpose is that they provide donor milk to premature babies within hospitals.
Right.
Their work that they do is amazing. We've done a lot of work with them. We've donated printers to them. We've gone and done charity volunteering days with them. But why I love that so much is because the impact that they're having. And they come to our kickoff and our Christmas parties, and they show us the babies that we've been able to impact as a result of the work that we've been doing. It is honestly the cutest thing ever, but
so
also everybody's sobbing by the end of it, honestly. And I think that is my favourite because it's just such a simple thing, right?
Yeah.
Nobody should have to go hungry as well.
No.
So the fact that that's even a UN SDG feels crazy in itself.
Yeah.
But the fact that because it's one, people can work on those areas and make sure that they're dedicating themselves to that SDG as well is a really heartwarming thing too.
So what's next on the horizon for sustainability when it comes to the environment?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot of stuff at the moment when it comes to our logistics.
Yeah.
So we had a look and we realised that the biggest source of our emissions is coming from the logistics side of things.
Okay.
So we've been working on a couple of areas. One of them was a very simple fix, actually. We call it pallet optimization.
Right.
And so when you're sending our stock from Asia, for example, over to Europe, it's in the shipping containers. And often the problem with shipping containers is they have dead space at the top. So suppliers who are putting the printers into the containers, they can only stack them to a certain height because of health and safety reasons.
Yeah.
But what we did is we spoke to our top 20 suppliers and had a conversation with them and said, listen, if we were to able to increase packing heights, so the pallet height itself was a bit taller,
Yeah.
it would not compromise health and safety. Went through reports, went through presentations and made sure they were happy with that first of all. And as a result of that, they then increased their packing heights. And it's not by much, but what it essentially means is that maybe an extra box can fit on top of a pallet. And again, that doesn't seem like a massive change, but if you think about an entire
Over
container.
the course of a huge order and whatnot.
Exactly. And it could eventually lead to one less container being sent out as a result of that as well. So at risk of sounding like Tesco, every little does help.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely is part of what sustainability is about. We're not going to make the change overnight.
It's all part
into
of the process,
2050,
though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just identifying where you can have those small changes to really make sure that it's a much smoother operation. It's much less harmful to the environment as well. Also backing on that as well, we have a partnership that we're doing with Maersk at the moment.
Right.
So we're trialing biofuels and the use of biofuels in our shipping containers as well, our ships that ship the shipping containers. So that's really to understand, can we have a sustainable version of a fuel that can take our stock from Asia to Europe without having to worry about the emissions associated with that as well. Yeah, it's a really exciting thing at the moment. Obviously, it needs to go through the scale up and everything like that. But it's an exciting space within sustainability with a lot of innovation being released as well.
So have you got like an estimated time on that?
Not to my knowledge. Obviously, the plan is to get it done by before 2050.
Yeah.
But it all depends because we're working in partnership with Maersk themselves. It depends on their availability and stuff like that. But it's interesting to know what is possible that's out there as well.
Yeah.
And other things that we've been able to do just to understand that there may be a time gap between getting a fully biofueled fleet, for example,
right.
and now. So what we've been trying to do is have a look where we can make those efficiencies. And another place we've done is an initiative called Asia Direct.
Right.
So what we do is, before we used to send our printers or our products, for example, from Asia to our customer, to our central distribution center in Germany. And that used to go out to our customers all across Europe. But if you think about it, what was happening in that process is that customers who are in Italy, the packages were bypassing Italy basically to Germany. And what we've been able to do now is have the conversation with our customers who have warehouses and get the packages or the printers delivered straight from the Asia warehouse to their own warehouses themselves. So we're bypassing that central distribution warehouse for Epson and going straight to customers. And again, that's a little change because what you're not having then is the road logistics of it going to that distribution warehouse and then being sent out to a customer by road.
Yeah,
exactly. So again, it's not fixing things overnight, but it is making sure that we've got those little savings where we can. So it makes it that much easier when it comes to us having to find biofuel alternatives, for example, and trialing them up as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, Taran. It's been great having you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. It really has.